World War II was a period of immense human suffering and sacrifice, but it also demonstrated the resilience, heroism, and spirit of humanity in the face of adversity. It forever changed the geopolitical landscape and set the stage for the modern world we live in today. In this video, we will take you on a journey through the key events, battles, and consequences of this global conflict that shaped the world we live in today. So, let's dive into the fascinating story of World War II. What exactly happened in World War II? When World War I ended and the peace treaty was signed, it was referred to as the Treaty of Versailles. All nations held Germany responsible for the devastation caused and insisted that Germany pay $33 billion in reparations to other countries. This sum was significant when compared to today's standards. The Germans made the final payment for World War I reparations, which took nearly 100 years to fulfill the financial obligation. This hefty fine caused dangerous inflation and led to a weak economy and high unemployment rates in Germany. Then, a man entered the field, Adolf Hitler. He knew how to manipulate the masses with his speeches. In 1923, he declared the formation of the Nazi Party and attempted to overthrow the German government. However, the attempt failed, but it only increased Hitler's popularity among the masses. Hitler claimed that the Jews and socialists were the real culprits, blaming them for Germany's disgrace. Over the next 10 years, Hitler extensively used propaganda, and hate speeches were pervasive in the paid media. In 1929, Germany faced its worst year with skyrocketing unemployment and inflation. Approximately 6.3 million Germans were unemployed, and even children and women were starving to death. Finally, in 1933, Hitler declared himself the dictator of Germany. The time had come for his dream of a German empire. He openly violated the Treaty of Versailles, despite its provisions that Germany would not be able to have its own army. However, some conditions were deemed unfair for Germany, as they were already burdened with fines. In 1935, Britain signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, formally recognizing Hitler's authority to form his navy. Upon seeing this situation, France immediately became alert and constructed a 450 kilometers long fortification on its eastern border, known as the Maginot Line. The alarming year came in 1938 when Hitler believed that his military was sufficiently prepared. He shifted his attention to Austria, his neighbor. In February 1938, Hitler met Austrian Chancellor Kurt Schuschnigg, who was forced into signing an agreement allowing Hitler to place pro-Nazi individuals in the Austrian government. However, the Austrian Chancellor eventually resigned, and a few days later, Austria ceased to be an independent country. This invasion of Austria was successful without any bloodshed, mainly because the majority of Austrian people were in favor of Hitler. He had already won them over with his speeches. After Austria, Hitler turned his attention to the next country, Czechoslovakia. However, between Austria and Czechoslovakia, there was a small region called Sudetenland. In September 1938, an agreement known as the Munich Agreement was reached. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, aiming to avoid war at all costs, believed that giving this region to Hitler would appease him and prevent further conflict. Hitler gladly accepted the Peace of Sudetenland. However, less than a year passed before Hitler violated the Munich Agreement. In March 1939, he invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia. Chamberlain faced heavy criticism for his approach. Next, Hitler looked towards Poland. In 1939, Hitler signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. In September 1939, 1 million German troops started moving towards Poland, shocking other countries. Britain issued a final warning to Hitler, demanding that he stop hostilities and withdraw German troops from Poland, or else they would go to war. Hitler ignored the ultimatum, leading Britain and France to declare war against Germany. South Africa, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia also declared war on Germany. In 1939, German troops occupied Poland. Hitler's warfare strategy, known as Blitzkrieg, was characterized by speed and stealth. Using this strategy, Hitler successfully invaded several countries. He aimed to keep the wars as short as possible. German soldiers were even given drugs, such as a substance called Pervitin, to reduce pain during combat. Returning to Poland, it was not only invaded by Hitler but also by the Soviet Union from the other side. After Poland's defeat, it was partitioned, with half going to Nazi Germany and the other half to the Soviets. The Soviets claimed that the area originally belonged to them before the Russian Revolution. In April 1940, Hitler devised plans to establish control over Norway and Denmark. On the 9th of April, 1940, he utilized his blitzkrieg strategy to invade both countries. Due to their size and limited resources, Norway and Denmark could not effectively compete against the powerful German army. As a result, in May 1940, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain resigned from his position, and the responsibilities were handed over to the renowned Winston Churchill. In May 1940, Hitler launched an attack on France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, marking the declaration of an all-out war. British and French forces were stationed on the borders of Belgium and Luxembourg to provide protection. On the 15th of May, 1940, German troops captured Sedan, employing over 40,000 military vehicles to enter France. As the British Army was already engaged in battle with Group B German forces in Belgium, they were shocked to find themselves surrounded by the Nazi army from three sides. The French and British forces had only one escape route, which was through the sea near the port of Dunkirk. They planned to evacuate from there. The events that unfolded in Dunkirk during this period became a significant turning point in World War II's history. Nearly 400,000 French and British troops found themselves stranded on the beaches of Dunkirk as the Nazi army rapidly approached. With no other means of escape, the only option was evacuation through the sea. The situation was dire, as failure to evacuate in time could have resulted in the loss of 400,000 lives. Winston Churchill devised a plan to evacuate the soldiers. On the 26th of May, 1940, Operation Dynamo was launched, marking the largest military evacuation in history. The German army had already reached the beaches, firing upon the French and British troops, while the German Air Force attacked from above. By the 4th of June, 1940, almost 350,000 soldiers had been successfully evacuated. A few days later, on the 22nd of June, 1940, France surrendered to Hitler. By July 1940, the situation had drastically changed, with Hitler gaining control over nearly all neighboring countries, including France, Italy, Austria, Poland, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. So, how did this situation take a U-turn? Britain was the last remaining country opposing Germany. In Europe, only three major countries remained: Germany, the Soviet Union, and Britain. There was a peace agreement between Germany and the Soviet Union, so Hitler did not need to worry about the Soviet Union. It was clear that Britain was the last European country opposing Germany. On the other side of the world, America did not want to get involved in the war. So, how was Hitler defeated? Let's understand the complete story. Hitler believed that since the fighting was over, Winston Churchill would want to sign a peace treaty with him. Hitler believed that Churchill would not want to put his country at risk since the German army was much stronger. But the opposite happened. Winston Churchill gave an iconic speech. "We shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." He made it clear that there would be no peace treaty between him and Hitler. The war against Germany would continue. Then Hitler planned Operation Sea Lion to invade Britain. The German Air Force, Luftwaffe, had 2,600 aircraft, while Britain had only 700. On July 10, 1940, Hitler launched an aerial attack on Britain. The German Air Force, Luftwaffe, bombed the country from the sky. On the night of August 24, 1940, there was a tragic incident when some German pilots mistakenly bombed London, resulting in the deaths of many civilians. Witnessing this devastation, Winston Churchill was deeply shocked by the horrors of war. As cities in Britain were being attacked, the country retaliated by bombing Berlin. When Hitler witnessed this response, unlike before when he had shown no interest in bombing London, he decided to destroy the city. On September 15, 1940, Hitler ordered the German Air Force to launch an all-out attack, deploying almost 1,000 jets to quickly demolish the city. It was a terrifying sight to witness over 1,000 air fighter jets descending to bomb a country. On the other side, the British Royal Air Force, RAF, prepared themselves with only 630 aircraft. This historical battle became a significant turning point. The British Royal Air Force successfully downed more than 65 German aircraft, while Britain lost 29 aircraft in the process. They managed to halt the German Air Force's attack. This day became known as the Battle of Britain Day. The Battle of Britain Day marked one of the first major losses for Hitler after a long time. It was the first instance in World War II where Hitler faced significant defeats. Realizing that the chances of a successful mission were slim, Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion. His next plan was to invade the Soviet Union. In 1941, Hitler had already occupied countries such as Hungary, Romania, Yugoslavia, and Bulgaria. The Italian dictator Mussolini, who was Hitler's ally, was busy occupying Libya and Greece. Hitler sent German troops to assist Mussolini in fighting in Libya. Now, let's focus on why Hitler wanted to invade the Soviet Union, despite the existence of a peace treaty between them. The real reason behind this decision was Hitler's ideology, his hatred for communism. Attacking the Soviet Union turned out to be a major mistake for Hitler and became a turning point in World War II. By June 1941, the Soviet Union had amassed a considerable military force and was prepared to defend its territory. The German army faced harsh resistance as they advanced into Soviet territory. The harsh winter of 1941 to 1942 further hampered the German army's progress, leading to heavy casualties and resource depletion. The tide of the war began to shift as the Soviets launched a counteroffensive in December 1941, pushing the German army back. The Soviet Union's vast resources, determination, and brutal winter conditions played a significant role in turning the tide of the war against Hitler. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought from August 1942 to February 1943, became a decisive turning point. The Soviet Union successfully defended the city, inflicting heavy losses on the German army. It was a significant blow to Hitler's military strategy and morale. From that point on, the Soviet Union steadily pushed back the German forces on the Eastern Front, liberating territories and advancing towards Berlin. In the meantime, the Allies, including the United States, joined the war effort against Germany, launching major offensives in North Africa and Italy. In June 1944, the Allies launched the largest amphibious invasion in history, known as D-Day, landing in Normandy, France. This marked the beginning of the end for Hitler's regime as the Allied forces gained momentum and pushed further into German-occupied territory. By early 1945, the Allies had crossed the Rhine River and advanced deep into Germany. The Soviet Union launched a massive offensive on the Eastern Front, leading to the Battle of Berlin. On April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker in Berlin. With Hitler's death and the fall of Berlin, Germany surrendered unconditionally on May 7, 1945. The war in Europe officially ended on May 8, 1945, known as Victory in Europe, V-Day. The defeat of Nazi Germany marked a crucial victory for the Allied powers and signaled the end of World War II in Europe. In conclusion, World War II was a global conflict that started with Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939. Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies, fueled by his ideology and desire for a German empire, led to the occupation of numerous European countries. However, Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union, the Allied resistance, and strategic offensives ultimately turned the tide of the war against Germany. The war ended with Germany's surrender in 1945, marking a significant turning point in history and the beginning of a new era.